Hello and welcome to Insaka. And this week we continue with the episode that talked about should parents choose careers for their children. And to discuss this topic, I'm back with my brother, Billy Sichone. Bro, welcome back.
Thank you. It's always good to be here. Thank you.
Great. So maybe what we should do, let's just remind our viewers and ourselves the ground that we had established concerning the topic. And then today we specifically want to look at what are the guiding principles in the Bible concerning the topic. Should parents actually pick careers for their children? Should they say, you must be a doctor, you will be a doctor, you have to be an engineer or whatever? Or should they simply guide? How does the Bible address this issue? So let's begin with some reminders.
Yes, the last time that we began, we were looking at the subject, of course, under the responsibilities of parents, but should parents choose careers for their children? And we didn't touch the principles per se, but we just gave some foundational statements or background, and we did say from Proverbs 22, verse 6, the Bible gives us a statement there that train a child when he's young, so that when he's old, he will not depart, or the child will not go away from your teaching. And we did say from there that parents have the responsibility of training children, ensuring that their children are on the right path. And then that these children, once they are trained, they will not go away from the things that their parents had taught them. So we said that parents, first of all, are commanded, because that's kind of an imperative, train. That's the thing that they should do. They should train a child. And we also said that actually in the original, sometimes it may read, start up a child in the way he should go. And when he's old, who will not depart. So parents have got this duty of starting up that. But secondly, we are saying that parents must not only, provide the platform for their children, they should make sure that they facilitate their children's development from, as far as they can, to ensure that the children progress and go on to the next level. And thirdly, we did say that when children are properly trained and facilitated and helped, they will become responsible citizens. And they will, that's in the sense where it says they will not depart. Meaning they will have learned the life skills, they will have learned the right principles, they will apply themselves and become useful citizens to this country, to their countrymen, to their family, and indeed where they live in this world, they will look after it very well. That's basically what we did say.
Yeah, and I like, how we define the idea of training,
Yes.
So where we say this is shaping, this is molding, this is, it's not just the transfer of instructions.
Yes.
Or transfer or learning of facts. It is where the mind and the heart are trained.
Yeah,
so,
in fact, that is important, my brother, because when you look at our education systems closely, even in Zambia, we train. It's a kind of a rote training. Cognitive. We just give facts, but those facts sometimes don't trickle down to the heart to begin to affect even the practice and the behavior. But the scriptures, when it's saying train, it's more than just give information. But give that information with a view that this person will appropriate those facts, yes, but they will practice them in life. So they will reduce to practice.
Okay, so now let's come to the question. Should parents choose careers for their children?
Okay, the answer to that one is in my view, it's a very clear answer. But again, it can be controversial in some. It depends on how somebody has been shaped and trained. That is the parents, where they've grown up, how they. In the past, we know we are coming from a background where parents would decide for their children. They would decide even who they married, how they married, when they married, and in some instances they even dictated how many children somebody should have. Can you imagine?
So in fact, just to remind our viewers, that's the reason we are having this conversation, because we have received parents who would come. They are disturbed because their child won't do what they are saying.
What they have decreed, yes.
They want him to, do medicine. And he says, no, I want to do economics, or I want to do teaching. And then in some cases, we have received kids who come so disturbed. Why? And the issue is, my mother is telling me to do medicine, and I want to do nursing. So it's good that you mentioned that actually culturally we are coming from a position where parents dictated. They simply said, we are paying for you and you're going to this school and this is what you are doing. And in some cases they would actually apply for you the school and whatever. So you are just following in line.
And they even take you up to the doorsteps and say, you start. And they'll just be waiting for the results and so on. And in some instances, they even give sanctions. If you don't do what I want you to do, then forget it. You have to find your money from elsewhere. Although they are saying that, and if you say, okay, I'm going to find money for myself, then it becomes another issue again. You're being disrespectful and whatnot.
So what are some of the biblical guidelines that parents would follow in dealing with this issue?
Yes.
What are some of the biblical guidelines also that kids would follow in dealing with this issue?
Sure. We were just giving a background, and so we appreciate where we're coming from. We're coming from this background where the older generation, or those that have got power, in other words, if somebody is paying your bill, they have some level of control over you. So they will leverage that to control and dictate, just like our country. If somebody is helping us to balance our budget deficit, and then they come and say, oh, we'll pay this, at first we'll be happy, but actually those guys are going to be controlling us eventually. If, let's say, US promises you, we'll give you $2 million, and you badly need it, US will give you yes, but they sometimes have an agenda. Or it could be China even, and so on. So even at the homestead level, there's this power issues that run in the home because somebody is controlling. But what are the principles if we're going to think biblically? And I think that's a good question, because even Christian parents fall into this trap, this cultural trap. I said, you must do this, no question. Go away. Sometimes parents do that because maybe they failed. They wanted to do that particular, profession, but then they couldn't make it. They failed. They couldn't go.
So they want to realize their dreams in the child.
Through the child. And so the child, because they want to please their parents, the poor child goes and does this program, and at some point they have to, change. In other words, the parents will say, if you want to do your own thing, first do what I tell you. If you want to change, that's your own business later on. But me, I want you to be this. Now, what are the principles? First of all, I'd like to say that when we read in Proverbs 22, let's read it again. Proverbs 22, verse 6, the Bible says, and I'm reading from the ESV, it says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, the writer, who probably, I believe, probably Solomon or somebody, the different people probably who wrote this Proverbs, but predominantly we see Solomon. And Solomon in this book gives us certain gems or, brilliant ideas. And at another point, his mother is speaking into the situation and so on. So what are the principles? Number one, as we said, or as we say, is that parents must be intentional about training their children. It's their responsibility, like we said last time. It's not even the church or anybody else to do it. It's the parents themselves. They must train or start up a child, the phrase we say. So the parents must put a child on a particular path or trajectory. In other words, they give the child certain skills and abilities.
So they must set them up for success.
They must,
That's the
I like
idea.
that word. That's the idea. Train a child, set them up for success. That is not prescribing. That is not saying you do this, but I'm saying I'm giving you enough skills so that you can make your own intelligent choices. So for success. Number two, apart from the trajectory, is that parents must guide their children. Now, there's a difference between control
And guide.
and guide. When you're guiding, you're advising, you are giving ideas, you're saying, hey, son, have you seen this? Hey, daughter, have you considered this aspect? You're guiding. You have set the child, yes, for success, but you're guiding with them as they begin to develop. Number three is that parents must not only guide, but they must model what a good citizen should be, what a good child should be: responsible, independent, wise, prudent, these kinds of things. They're not giving the actual thing that the child should do, but they're saying, look, if you want to do whatever you're going to do, make sure that you'll be able to be independent, you'll be able to contribute to society, you'll be able to live for God and things like that. The other principle that I would like to say, notice I'm moving very, very fast here.
Time runs fast here on this
very,
program.
very fast, yes. The one I'm going to say now really should have been the first thing, and it is this, that we should ensure we build a biblical worldview. Make sure the biblical meta-narrative, the storyline of the scriptures is resident in the hearts of the children. So what does this mean? What does this look like? In the home, for instance, it would be advisable you have devotions with your kids. It would be advisable you spend quality time with your children. Sometimes you may not be talking biblical themes per se, but in the common things of life, you're there to answer the questions. You're there to, give guidance to your children. Remember the Shema in Deuteronomy 6? It's really a biblical worldview that he's talking about there. Look, talk about it when you see it. Talk about it when you walk. Write it on the wall in the prominent places. We need to spend time with our children if we're going to engender or build this biblical worldview. We said last time, because we want to get the money, we are all over the place, and we have no time for our children. So parents spend time. Once that has been set, then these other things that I've said above begin to
fall in place.
Yeah.
So just before we go to that next segment,
Sure.
What we are saying is the basis upon which these principles are framed is that a child develops in stages. So obviously between 0 and, we can say maybe 8 years old or 5, a child is being told what to do. You need to do this. You need to do this. You need to clean.
Because
when they get to the teenage stage, perhaps, you begin to have conversations.
Discussions.
You begin to ask for their opinions and whatnot.
Yeah. And they even begin to question you. Dad, why should I do this?
And I think it's a training moment to provide answers.
Yes, that's why we need to be there.
Yeah. So, so that when you're talking about a young adult stage, that's not a stage where you're now telling a child what to do. It means they have not been trained. It means they have not been equipped. So between 0 and
roughly,
young adult stage somewhere there, the equipping should have been done so that when a child comes and says, oh, I want to do nursing, for example, as a parent, you should say, okay, so why do you want to do nursing? And you should hear the reasoning.
Yeah.
Okay? And you may provide your input.
That's the guidance we're talking about. Yes. That's the wisdom.
Yes. And if you have, established a rapport, they may even see the other perspective which they were not seeing. And they would say, okay, I think I agree with you. Maybe I need to consider this as well. Which again is so different from prescribing.
Yeah, and by the way, as parents, we saw these kids from birth, and we have been seeing them develop. There are certain things that they have blind spots too. They may not even be aware, for instance, that they have got excellent emotional skills, or they have excellent business intelligence skills. They're able to connect and see and assess. They may not be, but you as a parent, who is more like a coach at that stage, you're able to say, hey, have you thought about it?
Yeah.
Have you thought about this?
Yeah.
What you're saying is okay, and it's okay to change, but you need to consider. So that's the thing we're saying. At each stage, we are changing and learning. So we give enough leverage. Can I proceed?
Yes, please. We are running out of time. Actually.
Another thing that I would like to say is that principle is that not only should we build a biblical worldview, which is the basis of everything, we should ensure that we mentor and facilitate our children. Now that's different from dictating. And if you notice all along, I'm saying parents should not prescribe. They should not choose careers for this. That's all we are saying here. But they should guide, facilitate, mentor, and model the right behaviors, the right way that children can live through. If you ask me, you'll be surprised. There's certain things that I do in my home right now, and maybe I did not realize my dad used to do them. For instance, my dad, when we were growing up, the first thing he did when he got into the house in the evening, have you closed the windows? Oh, why is that light on when there's nobody in the room? At first I used to say, Dad, what is he? But you know what has happened is that it has rubbed on. And that's the first thing I do when I get into my house. Now, if my father modeled the wrong thing, I would most likely have picked it. So we mentor, we facilitate, and even connect them to the right people who would help them.
Perfect.
For instance, if a daughter or a son wants to be a medical doctor, you say, oh, okay, you might want to interact with this medical doctor in the church.
Connections.
Connections and linkages, and the kid will go there, and that kind of thing. But the other thing that I would like to say is a principle is that parents should make sure they backstop their children. By that I mean they should be in the background. Not only are they facilitating, but they're in the background to support. In case the daughter or son, falls back or stumbles or is having difficulty, we must be there to kind of cushion and encourage them and say, hey, son, you can do it. Oh, have you thought about this? Oh, that's backstopping. Because the kid knows that I have the support and my dad is holding my back or my mom is there to help me to pass this difficult path. That is not doing those things for them, no. But you have given them sufficient skills and you are there to kind of help. And that's what happens as parents. The older we get, we move from being the center figure, pivot, kind of into the background. And you begin to cheer on your children and support them as they move on. The other one that I would like to say, which is probably the last one, is that we must, as parents, principle is that whatever profession the children desires to take, we should make sure, you should impress it on their hearts that they should work with their hands and with their minds. In this digital economy, we are moving away from labor-intensive kind of jobs. The market is changing. But we should impress the principle of working. Work must be an issue. 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 11 and 12. The apostle talks about it. Make it your ambition to work with your own hands, to generate wealth. Okay, I'm not quoting it directly, is it? Yeah. But he says, look, to be independent and not to be dependent on anybody. If anything, we should be the ones who are willing to help other people. Yeah. So, in general, this aspect of work. But in work, you can look at it in two phases. It's hard work, really, really hard work, painstaking, laboring, toiling. But also it should be smart work. Because not all jobs require you to physically sweat, but by smart we mean they should choose careers that they can easily do with the least effort. Now that's a
okay. Now we need to stop here because we are way off. We are way off our time. Okay. Yes. But yeah, I love that principle of. So before we even talk about career, we need to establish the theology of work.
Yes.
So that's basically what you're saying.
Point. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We have to stop here, but if you have questions, please do post them in the thread, and we will be glad to attend to these questions. So by the end of the day, it's important to realize that work is God ordained, and we have to glorify Him through the work.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll see you next time.